First time that I have seen the new little cubs, and how adorable are they. We're lucky because when we just got here, they were lying in the long grass, and it's like they were already learning the ropes. And they have decided, of course, to come out and have a suckle. They are so sweet and so tiny. It is really, really nice to see little lion cubs again. Well, you can see straight away which one has got a dominant personality as it bosses its siblings around and bulldozes them to try and find, well, the teat with all the milk. And that's what these little ones will do. This is really, really sweet, isn't it? Listen to the sounds that they're making. And typical. As soon as I stop talking, all the little ones stop making a noise. They've obviously found a spot. They've got their eyes closed now. They're going to drink their fill, and then they will probably go and have a siesta somewhere. But it is nice and cool, so hopefully we'll be able to spend a bit of time with them today. I'm glad we managed to get here earlier before the guards have got out, because it is going to be very, very busy this afternoon, you can imagine, with these little ones. They will be, well, a highlight, and I'm sure all the guests in the various lodges are absolutely itching to see these beautiful little cubs. Now remember, this is indeed a live safari, so if you'd like to ask any questions, you can hashtag Safari Live with your questions on Twitter. I think this is the first time in a couple of months that I've actually seen the Styx Pride, or the entire Styx Pride, all three females, back together again. We can just see two of them at the moment, but the third one is around the corner with one of the Birminghams. Just keeping an eye on what I think Tristan said was a waterbuck carcass this morning. But it is very quiet. They're definitely not feeding at the moment. And one of the older cubs has got a very full belly. So I'm sure that this little one had been hanging around the carcass for most of the afternoon and probably the morning. And look at her. Big pants. I think regretting that it ate so much. That's always the case, isn't it? You think that you have space for dessert, and then often when you have dessert, that's not the case at all. You should have stopped at your starter. And I think lions are good examples of that. Although, if you have an appetite like Hosanna, who is a young male leopard, just in case you're unsure of all these names, he has got a ferocious appetite as well. And I think he'll have a ferocious appetite for his entire life. And so will these little lions. But let's, hopefully we'll see them all grow up, won't we? That'll be nice. Now, obviously something that unfortunately we always have to chat about with the Styx Pride is the fact that the lionesses do have a case of mange. So they're looking quite healthy. They look much better than the last time that I saw them. And Love Dogs, you were actually wondering if mange would still be a problem. It would only be a problem if one of the lions in the pride still has mange. And like I said, the last time I saw one of the lionesses with the two older cubs, she didn't look great. She still looked very patchy. But I think with all the abundance of healthy animals around that they can feed on, I think it will definitely help their immune system. So let's hope that the lionesses can pull through and beat the mange, and then if they do that, that just gives the cubs a better chance of survival too. And mange in animals normally only comes through when they're not particularly healthy, so when they have a dip in their immune system, it's quite common to pick up something like mange. And for these little cubs, it is very difficult to fight something like that when you haven't even, well, probably started eating meat just yet. I'm sure they're having a couple of nibbles, but you can see they're still quite happy and relying on mom's milk. So once they start getting exposed to all sorts of different bacteria, they'll start building up a resilience. But that, of course, only comes in when they're a little bit older. So it is tough for these cubs. But you must remember, and we say this over and over, but nature is cruel. Only the fittest and the strongest will survive and make it through to adulthood. And the success rate of young predators is unfortunately not very high, especially to make it to adulthood. So, you know what the thing is about nature is you've just got to enjoy what we've got while we've got it and make the most of it. And remember all the good times and not dwell on the negatives. I think that's an important sort of philosophy to have in life, really, is just keep moving forward There's always going to be obstacles and challenges, but if you keep positive, and I'm sure that's what these lions do, they don't want to see their cubs go either. They want to be successful, and that is their role in life, really, is to breed and pass on their genes and ensure that their little ones survive. Now, Carolyn, as we look at these little ones feasting, you're wondering how long does mom suckle them for? Well, this is always a funny story, Carolyn. It's actually something really enjoyable to watch as we go on. These cubs are relatively young. I think they're only about, how old are they now? No, they're not even 4 months. 4 months, I think the other ones are 4 months. Louise, do we know how old these cubs are? About 2 months. Something around there. Weren't they born at the end of February? Yes, they were. February, March, April. Yes. 3 months? I think that might be 3 months. I think might be a little bit old, because if I'm not mistaken, I think I have in my diary, and I'll check it now, when we went to the Rangers meeting, and they'd said that the lion cubs were born. It was after the 20th of February. Should we have a look? Let's get the blue book out and note, because I don't have it here because I was making notes this afternoon, so it's sitting in my room. So I remember the last Rangers meeting that I attended with Steph, and we were actually discussing the dates, and I can't quite remember, but I have written it down. But I think they said, I think it was the 28th of February. I don't know why I'm remembering that date, but that date seems to be popping into my head. So they're actually a little bit younger than that. They're not quite even 2 months old then. Or maybe just 2 months, because mom would have also probably tucked them away, and we might have only picked up on them on a few days later, even a week later, before we realized that that lioness even had any cubs. Now, remember, of course, I'm just listening to the radio chat, so I don't want to keep you all up to date. There are a lot of guides that do sound like they're coming to this area, so I'll try and get hold of them again and let them know that we are here. I did try earlier, but it didn't get a response. So what might happen is we might not be able to sit here for too long, but we'll see how long we can manage, and then we can always try and be put onto the rotation for this evening. The only difficult thing, though, is we're obviously fighting against the light, because this sighting that we're watching at the moment is definitely light sensitive, and because they are so young, they will call this a negative sighting once the sun goes down. Sorry, I knocked my hat there. I had a fly buzzing around my nose. So like I said, we'll try and spend as much time as we can. But they're fairly flat for the moment. They've had a suckle, they've had something to eat, they're enjoying the cooler weather, and I think digestion is taking place at the moment. But I'm going to have a quick chat with the guides. I'm going to send you to James Hendry, and hopefully he's got something magical to show you. A cat trifecta? That sounds fantastic. Let's hope we can make that happen today. Isn't this absolutely lovely? We're still with these little lion cubs, and they are so sweet, but their bellies are indeed full, and they seem to just be resting up for the moment. What we'll do just now is we'll actually go around the corner, because it did look like the Birmingham boy sat up, but I don't know for how long he's going to sit up for. He may have just been reshuffling a little bit. There seems to be some biting flies around, thankfully not biting us. They're enjoying the lions today. Oh, there's a bit of growling there between the third lioness and the Birmingham boy, so I wonder if it wasn't a little scrap over the carcass of what's left of the carcass. He's just moving around behind that tree. You can just see him. He completely flopped down to the ground. Okay, so we won't go back there just yet then, as I think we'd all prefer to watch sleeping naughty little lion cubs. Now, I'm still trying to get hold of the guides just to let them know that we are here. Here we go. Here's some guides. Now, are there any Chitwa movers out now? Just have to keep in touch with everybody, of course. Still no. Okay. Well, we won't be able to stay here for too much longer, unfortunately, just because, of course, it sounds like there are a lot of cars on their way here, so we'll just enjoy it while we can. But maybe tomorrow morning, because I don't know if we will make it in time to come back here. Hopefully tomorrow morning we'll be able to spend a bit more time with them. But it's good that they're back together again. Like I said, it's been a long time with the lion dynamics out here at the moment. Everything's sort of been changed up quite a bit. But isn't this great? And I hope that the Styx Pride come and visit Djuma, seeing as though the Nguhumas don't seem to be occupying that area as well as often as they used to. Oh, isn't that lovely? Nothing quite like a sibling cuddle, isn't there? And they are so, so, so sweet. Now, Patricia, you're wondering who is the probable father of the Styx cubs. It's a bit hard, actually, to try and figure this one out, because it could be Nena. I think Nena and Nsuku hang around more with the Styx Pride and the Torchwood Pride, but Mfumo and Tinyo have been moving around quite a bit, and we've been seeing 3 of the Birminghams together, Tinyo, Mfumo, as well as Nena. Nsuku every now and then. I'm actually not sure which Birmingham is here. I had a very quick look, and I think it could have been Nsuku, if I was not mistaken. I just saw his eyes very quickly. I didn't really see much of him. I was also too obsessed with these tiny little cubs, because we haven't seen little lion cubs like this for a couple of months. Well, not since, of course, the Nguhumas have now all grown up. And I think, if I heard correctly, there were a couple more Birminghams in the area, and I think that they were coming this way. But they'll be a bit disappointed when they arrive here that they've missed the meal. But that's it, though. You've got to be quick on the mark and make sure you're at the right place at the right time. And I've actually seen that a couple of times where male lions have only clicked in later that the pride has caught something, and they try to come charging in and take over. And sometimes the carcass is just too far gone, and the boys literally, they get a couple of slaps across the face, growled at, and they sort of sit in the corner licking their wounds. And, well, it's almost like they say, well, you better participate next time. Because they do that. Some male lions, and I think Nsuku is one of them from what I've heard. He doesn't do much hunting. He used to rely, from all the stories that I've heard, of the Torchwood Pride and just taking down buffalo after buffalo. And he would be there to, of course, provide protection and eat all of the food. Whereas we've seen Nsuku, what is wrong with me today? We've seen Tinyo, and we've definitely seen Mfumo partaking in a lot of the hunts with the Nguhuma Pride. But if they are on their own, they will take down much prey. And for instance, the Charleston males down in that sort of traverse around Sabi, Kirkman's, Lion Sands, they are very, very successful hunters on their own. They definitely don't need a pride to help them hunt. On numerous occasions, again, it was during the drought, the animals were weaker than they normally were, but they were taking down fully grown buffalo bulls all by themselves, which is, I think, very impressive, even if they are slightly weakened. But how wonderful is this? Now, Wheaty and Debbie, you're wondering how many hours a day do lions sleep? Many hours, in fact. But, you know, with these little cubs, they've got a lot more energy than the adults do. So the chances are that the little ones will get up and play about while the adults sleep. But typically it's anywhere between 18 and 20 hours a day. That, of course, depends on a number of different things. You must remember, have they just caught something? Are they thin and hungry or starving and desperately looking for something to eat? Then they might go out and search for something during the day. But even though they're sleeping like this, they're always on high alert for a warthog, for a kudu, for a waterbuck, even an impala, to come strolling through, and they will head straight into the hunt. But this is lovely. But unfortunately, I think we're going to actually have to leave the sighting soon, because there is a lot of chatter on the radio and a lot of guides that are wanting to come here. I think we were very lucky just to enjoy the sighting, just for a little bit, all on our own too. Suppose we can't be too selfish and hog it for ourselves. Remember, we can't put too much pressure on these lions either. They are still very young. So I think they'd be limiting the sighting to a 2-vehicle sighting, because it's not particularly open either. If it was on a massive open plain. Oh, there goes the Birmingham. Can you see him just at the back there, just to the right of the lions, to the right? Where no, he's going down there. There he is. That was the lioness. There's the big Birmingham. Now, he might be going off to use the luxury facilities, or perhaps he's had enough and he said, the food is gone, I am going to go too. Could you have not taken one step to the left, lion, so we could have seen your face through all those shrubs over there? I think it is Nsuku. Come on. Is it? I don't know. Louise, do you remember from this morning who Tristan had? Here's a big yawn. I'm actually not sure. And now he's hiding his faces. But maybe some of you all know. If you do know, if you did manage to identify him, hashtag Safari Live, let us know. Obviously, we'll try our best to identify the lion now. It's just a little bit difficult because he's hiding behind all the long grass. Come on, boy. Yes, I think that's exactly what he's done. I think he's been very polite and has walked away to use the luxury facilities. But I'm sure he will be back. Yes, here he comes. Come on. Come on, big boy. We're waiting to figure out who you are. Can we identify him by his tail? No, it's a little bit too difficult. That, I think, would take a serious expert. And, well, I'm not one of them. I'm not an expert on being able to identify lions by their tails. It's hard enough just looking at their faces. But it is so thick in there. It's actually good because if these little cubs do feel a bit of pressure from anywhere, they can just duck into that long grass, around the teak and around the bush willows, and they will be fine. They'll probably feel a little bit more on the relaxed side. I don't know where our Birmingham has gone. Right. We're going to have to move away from these little lions now, as there are a lot of vehicles coming this way. We're going to head on towards Cheetah Plains and see if we can find anything else around there. James has since left Shongile on foot. I'm not sure if Tristan's going to be heading that way, but let's go get an update again from James.